You put the oils on them, they come blank.
No kidding. Where'd you get that?
At Summit at the store.
You know, I have never yet been able to make it to a store during one of the Zija summits.
Really? What?
The one
God.
time I went into the store, you guys are going to love this story. The one time I went to the Zija store would have been, it's probably, I'm guessing about 4 years ago, because that's how long Josh Plant's been with us. I'd been just, you know, from the time I showed up, I was, you know, meeting with people, going and blowing, and realized I had never actually checked in. And so during one of the sessions, I boogied out early, ran in. There was all these people in there in the registration lines and all that sort of thing. And I'm thinking, I do not have time to stand in these lines. And I'm not the guy that goes, you know, cruises around going, hey, I'm Fred Holmes, take care of me, right? That's not me. Anyway, I'm looking at the lines and I'm realizing there's just no way I can make it to the next thing I got to be at and stand in these lines. So I went behind the counter. I saw this good-looking young fellow with a bow tie on, and he was kind of like standing around, you know, looking here and looking there. And I said, excuse me, can you help me out? I need to get my registration packet. I'm meeting with a team of people. Can you help me out? And he says, oh, I'll try. What's your name? I said, it's Fred Holmes. He goes, well, let's see here. And he started flipping through, you know, he went behind the people in the, you know, the H through the I lines. And he's flipping through all that stuff. And he finally finds one. He goes, here you go. You're all set. And I said, hey, thank you, buddy. What's your name? He goes, Josh. I shook his hand and go, Josh, I really appreciate you. I figured he was some kind of, you know, new EDS or distributor support supervisor that I hadn't met yet, right? And then lo and behold, a little later on during the regional, he's announced as our new you know, big shot you know, head of research sciences or whatever. And I'm going, seriously, I
That's
just
great.
a brand new
That's
guy
a great story.
and asked him to, like, you know, can you take care of this for me? Because I'm Fred Holmes and you're not.
That's a great story, Fred.
It's you know, it's as most great stories are. It was it's real. And while it's humorous now, I have to tell you, I was a little bit disappointed that that's what I did. But hey, you know, that's just the way it is. What can I say? So I am recording here, and we've come to the conclusion of our 90 days. Welcome to all of you. We'll kind of keep things rolling here for a second. I did get it recorded. I started the recording. I'm finally, you would think after a while I'd get this deal down. I finally got it down where I'm remembering to to get things started, the recording thing. That'll go over there. And I got a few things I want to cover with you as we kind of bring this to a close. And, you know, and then I really kind of want to open up the time we have together to your questions, to focus on what I can do here with this last session to support your efforts. And so first things first, I just want to thank you all for being so good about bearing with me here during this, you know, challenging time that I've had. And I'll give you a quick little update. You know, Mom is doing well. Although we were sitting outside, this place has just this lovely, lovely open. I mean, it's a huge place that they've got that's set aside next to the building as gardens. And so they got these concrete walkways that go around it. They got a rose garden and trees and lots of grass and a gazebo. And so we get out there. You know, yesterday was not a great day for Mom. She, you know, and I don't blame her. Everybody has an off day. And then today didn't start out real well. I had the morning afternoon shift both days. And but later on, hey Marvin, later on in the day, I said, shall we go outside? And she was up for it. And I thought, okay, well, good. Let's get outside. Let's get some fresh air. Got her all bundled up. We took our little stroll through the garden. Towards the back, there's a bench that we can sit in, which has got space next to it. So I back her chair right up into that. And so we're like sitting next to each other, and we just sit there and we look at the birds and the trees and that sort of thing. And you know, and she was thinking, you know, next time we come out here, we should get some ice cream and bring it out with us. And then unfortunately, she says, you know, on the way home, we should get some ice cream. And I said, I had to tell her, you know, well, Mom, when I go home, I'm not going to be back till tomorrow. She goes, well, I know. Well, we can get it on the way home. And I said, but Mom, you're not coming home with me. And she goes, well, where are you going? So we periodically have to remind her where she's at and what she's doing, which is why I'm trying to, you know, be with Mom as much as possible during her waking hours. But here's the good news. She is doing well. When you consider it's been only 3 weeks that she's been at this facility, and that was, and it's been, you know, about, I guess on Tuesday, it'll be 4 weeks from her surgery. When you consider how extensive the surgery was and, you know, high risk, and she's going to be 92 years old here in a few weeks. The fact of the matter is her progress is nothing less than amazing. And I'm hoping that within the next 3 to 4 weeks, I can get her home. And that's, so I appreciate all your prayers and your support of me. And I appreciate you guys, you know, not being, you know, disappointed, upset that we weren't able to do everything that we wanted to do. But hopefully you've benefited from it. Let me go through some notes that I've got for our session, and then we'll just open it up. We don't want to start the next 90 days until we wrap up this 90 days. Okay, so we're in cycle 4, period 113. Got to finish strong. Okay, we got to focus on everybody that we've been working with. You know, the prospects, let's get them in. It's the final cycle of the period. You know, between me and all of you, it's just a cycle, okay? But it is the last cycle of period 113. It's kind of like, oh, we do a Wednesday night call every Wednesday night with Josh Plant. No, we've got a special call this Wednesday night, right? There's a difference in how you present it. So this is the last cycle of the period. This is a great opportunity to get you in before the next period. That way you can launch right out of the gate, right? Sell it. Last cycle of periods. So let's finish strong. Everybody started this 90-day program with goals and objectives. Let's see what we can do to wrap them up. Let's take our new people. Yes, what do you got there? I'm trying to see it, Joni, but you're going to have to put it closer to the camera. Oh, no, it's not a sign? It's not that sign, you know. Help! I'm being held captive in this little square. Kids don't believe you can do this. Kids don't believe you can do this. Really? We'll take care of the kids in a little bit. Now, we want to finish the cycle strong. Your new people, let's get them set up to rank advance this week. Let's wrap it up, because what I want to share with you is establishing your game plan for the next 90 days. So everything I'm about to say is not to take away from the last cycle of this period, okay? We need to follow through and wrap this up. Now, we got our next 90 days coming up. That's the beauty of this business. Every 90 days you can start over. Every period you can start over. New goals, new objectives, you know, every day you can start over. See, this is something that I figured out a long time ago. I may not accomplish everything I intended to do today, but you know what I have? Tomorrow. And I can start tomorrow with high-level goals, high-level aspirations, high-level commitment, high-level attitude, and hammer the day like it's my first day. And at the end of the day, okay, one of two things is going to happen. And you guys should know what's coming out of my mouth next. I will either celebrate or fix. Because every day I get to start over. Every cycle Every Saturday morning is the beginning of a new 7-day cycle. Every 4 weeks, we have the beginning of a new period to rank advance. And every 90 days, we can come to the end of the 90-day block, close the books on that 90 days, reopen the books, and start fresh. One of the highest levels of professionalism in our industry is this whole concept of being able to start again fresh. And I'm looking. Amy has begged off being on the camera because she's en route right now to a meeting with a very strong potential prospect, and so she's listening as she's going. And as many of you know, she is listening in her brand new black on black, fancy dancy Mercedes. So everybody, you can't see because you're not watching Amy. Everybody's clapping, giving you thumbs up. Now, Kevin, on the other hand, Kevin Steele's driving, and he's wondering what's the big deal about driving and being on cam at the same time. So, you know, of course, every time his camera switches off, I'm afraid he ran into something. But anyway, so highest level of professionalism is this ability to continually start fresh. Every day, every cycle, every period, every 90 days. And then, as you guys remember my story, you know, part of the success I had everything to do with being able to do 4 90-day game plans back to back at the end of the first year, close the books on the year, wake up. And I remember that first year, when I was normally hanging out with my hockey buddies for New Year's Eve, I was hammering business until about 10 o'clock at night. Okay. And I just went to bed and then woke up the next day, and I skipped hanging out with the boys. Woke up the next day. Now, nobody wanted to talk to me because they were all hungover. I used the day to strategize what was I going to do, plan out the year, the 90-day game plans, and then start breaking down the first 90 days to January, February, March, and then preparing so that I could get up on the 2nd of the month with my daily method of operation. So what I'm suggesting to you is that sometime probably at the end of Friday night, beginning of Saturday morning, this upcoming week, you need to focus on setting up your next 90-day game plan. And I broke it down into a few items. Number 1, set some new goals. Okay, you set goals for this time frame. Now, some of you accomplish those goals. Some of you accomplish some of those goals. You need to recognize your achievements. Okay, if you prospected more than you had in 90 days ago, congratulate yourself. If you didn't prospect as much as you had planned, then you need to fix that. Okay, but you do need to recognize your successes, your achievements. If you were going to call, 30 people during this 90-day program and you called 10 or 20, congratulate yourself, recognize yourself for your achievement, and go and make sure you set up your daily method of operation to do better the next time. It's always a matter of doing better the next time. If everybody was perfect, then, I guess everybody be perfect, right? So set new goals. Now, these new goals should cause you to stretch. Okay, now make them, remember the whole concept of goal setting. We talked about that. They've got to be realistic. They've got to be achievable. They got to be something that'll cause you to stretch beyond what you believe you can, yet they still have to be within reason. Okay, what the mind can conceive and believe. Set new goals and make them very specific. Okay, they may be a pin rank. Okay, it may be a dollar amount of weekly income. That can be backed up. Once you set those types of goals, you can back that up with numbers of auto ships. This is what I've always focused on. Numbers of auto ship. Your recruiting volume will always outpace your back-end residual. When you bring in somebody with a gold pack today, 4 weeks from now, you got 500 PV today. That's great. 4 weeks from now, you got 150 PV. Okay, if you got somebody in with a diamond pack, you got 1,000 PV today. 4 weeks from now, you're gonna have 150 PV. Okay, what I always looked at was, and you can hit rank advancements, you can have big paychecks, especially if those enrollments are personal, because you're getting your 25% fast start bonus. If they're in your downline, that's still good money. Okay, if they're in your pay side, 500 PV, 10% of that, you added $50 to the pay card this week. Okay, now what I always looked at was the back end residual. It isn't so much of an issue to me how much money did I make this week, but how much, what is my income based upon my back end residual. And so if you're looking at, what do I need to have $100 this week on my Zija commission check? You need to have 1,000 PV in your paylet. What's 1,000 PV? Approximately 10 people on auto ship. So if I've got 10 people on auto ship in the left leg and 10 people on auto ship on the right leg, then I am guaranteed I'm going to have $100 on my pay card. Now, that's what I've always looked at, because I'm a whole lot more interested, not in what am I getting paid today, but what can I guarantee I'm getting paid if I can't work today. Okay, which has been a major blessing, in year 4 and 5. Some of you know the story. I hammered it pretty good for 36 months, and then mom had her first stroke. And while it really wasn't a devastating thing, it kind of took my head out of the game. But I'd done enough in advance of that I didn't have to worry about it. And we hit that first mini wave. Went from like 10 million a month to a year to 50 million a year, and my income almost doubled. Okay, I did the work in advance of the need, something that's incredibly powerful. Now, today, same thing. I've got a back end residual that still keeps me in the top 1% of income earners in the country. And when I had to go into like a part-time relative to what I do, when mom first fell, it went into no time available when we hit the surgery and then the initial follow-up after that, right? So set new goals. Could be income, could be rank advancement, then work the numbers backwards so you understand, how many new distributors am I going to need? How many new auto ships am I going to need? When you have that in place, then you want to identify what you have already, because each of you have something already. Obviously not all of you have, Amy McKenzie's back end, Berdina Pretty's back end residual. You don't all have that. Okay, and Joni Christopher, of course, she's got quite a lot of back end residual. Now, what you do have is you do have people. Each one of you has some people. So you want to identify, who do you have? Number one, who are you going to work with? This is real key. This is part of the process. It's a little bit difficult, okay? And I have to tell you, it was one of the biggest challenges I had, pursuing this industry, was coming to the recognition that not every single person was going to succeed. Not every single person was going to achieve their dreams, goals, desire, okay? And it was a challenge for me, because for me, I had to make a decision. What was I going to do with the people that didn't succeed? And this is the conclusion I came to. I have no control over that. Okay, the only thing I have control over is what I do. And so I made the decision, and it was based upon what happened to me. Had somebody not offered me this opportunity 30 plus years ago in the first company, where would I be today? And I've told you the story. My sponsor didn't believe I was going to make it. Okay, I was just another person that he enrolled. Now, I'd like to tell you he had my heart. That's not the case. Okay, for me, I'm willing to offer every single person this opportunity, because I have to believe that they can achieve this if they desire it. I won't sell somebody on the opportunity, but I will allow everybody an opportunity to join. And then once they join, I don't care who they are, what package they came in with, I am going to give them everything I've got. Okay? Because I'm not going to be the sponsor that I had originally in the business. I'm going to be the sponsor I want to be, and the sponsor, frankly, I wish I had. So I'm going to give them every opportunity, everything I've got. And at that point in time, they are going to determine what it is that I bring to the table. I ask them to bring willingness to work, willingness to learn, burning desire to succeed. I will give them everything. And then what I give them from that point on is going to be determined by them. It's what I taught my kid. I told my kid, every single adult deserves your respect because they're an adult. So you are respectful to every adult. Now, at that point in time, what they do determines how far you carry it beyond that. See, he wasn't the kid that believed every adult was right. He was the one that said was told every adult deserves your respect until they show you they don't. And that's really kind of the same kind of concept with our people. So identify who you have to work with, whether it be, new distributors or existing distributors, and then evaluate their response. Because the one thing we can't buy is more time. You have some of you, Anthea, she doesn't have a job. She's got a part-time business and a full-time stay-at-home mom with her special needs child. Okay, some of you got jobs. Everybody's got responsibilities. Okay, there's a finite amount of time that's available to us to build our business, whether that be personal prospecting, or whether that be working with a brand new distributor, or working with an existing distributor and helping them advance momentum. We need to be conscious of working smart, not hard. Don't chase people that don't have the level of desire for their success that you have of them. Okay, is making sense? Making sense? So identify who you have to work with, and then identify the people that deserve your help, not need your help. This is one of the multi-level proverbs, right? Had an interesting conversation with somebody. It's actually, I think about it was my new guy, Gary, talking about, retirement. And he said, well, Fred, what are you going to give it up? Because he just started, right? And I said, Gary, I tell you, I'll be honest with you, probably not for a while, as long as it keeps being fun. Got to have something to do. I'm not just going to stay here with mom and that's it. Got to have something to do. But I will tell you, because we were talking about people we knew from the industry that, got in with that last company. We could teach a dog how to make $10,000 a month. We had so much momentum. And then those guys wrote a book and became self-proclaimed MLM gurus, and were selling their books and tapes and training people on how to be successful multi-level when they were nothing more than a second or third string player to begin with, right? We were laughing about all the guys we know in the industry that are out there selling their books and tapes. And I said, well, but Gary, I'm going to retire one of these days. It's going to happen. And I said, he laughed his head off because I said, and you'll know when I retire because I'm going to write my book. When you hear me writing my book, and I already got the title, it's going to be the Multi-Level Proverbs. So this is one of the multi-level proverbs, and then I'm giving you guys heads up. When Fred starts coming out with his book, then I'm heading for the beach permanently, right? But I'll probably do special webinars, right? But it's going to cost you.
No way.
But hey, that's not going to happen. See, all these guys that are selling their books and tapes, and you got to spend so much money to be part of the webinar that gives away the secrets. That's because they got no residual. Okay, Remember what I said? Hardest part of multi-levels, finding the right company. We're going to have residual here forever. So one of the multi-level proverbs, how do you decide who to work with? Real simple. The ones that deserve the help, not the ones that need the help. People are always going to need help. Okay, they're always going to need help. There's always going to be people out there who need help. Sometimes due to no cause of their own, okay, no error on their part. Okay, there are people that have physical challenges, mental challenges, whatever, and it's not of their doing. Sadly, most people that need help, it is because of their doing. Okay, the person that's 150 pounds overweight on multiple medications. Why? Because their idea of healthy eating is Kentucky Fried Colonel, a side of Mojo potatoes, and they chase it down with a can of diet Mountain Dew. All right, their challenges are of their making. So my philosophy is I will help the people that deserve the help, not the ones that need the help. There's always going to be people who need help. This is why it's, if you can, it is your obligation and responsibility to create financial prosperity and financial abundance so that you can help those people that through no fault of their own need help. So how do you identify the people that are calling you, the people that are reaching out for help because they're not getting the response they're looking for when they're prospecting or from their customers or whatever? They're doing the deal and they're reaching out for help. Okay, the ones that aren't doing the deal, okay, the ones that are still trying to figure out what to do, even though you've given them guidance and direction. Look at productivity. And it starts with activity. You can't be productive until you are active. So who's doing the activity? That'll help you identify who deserves your help, not the ones that need help. Okay, so identify who to work with, whether they're a brand new distributor or an existing distributor. Once you've identified who you're going to work with, you help them. How are you going to help them? With an awful lot of and if you go back through your notes, the first 4 weeks were pretty well structured. The second 4 weeks of this session didn't exist. And in the last 4 weeks, we've been primarily focusing on the development of what happened in the first 4 weeks, okay? Refining what we talked about in the first 4 weeks. So how do you help them? Help them set some realistic goals. Give them a game plan, a daily method of operation that will help them achieve those goals and then support their efforts. See, the good news is each one of you now, especially even those of you that are really brand new, you've got people to work with. So that's a portion of what you're going to do the next 90 days. Identify who it is you can work with, help them, set them up, help them set some goals, give them an action plan, daily method of operation, and then support their efforts. And it's all going to be, your efforts is based upon theirs. Match their activity. That'll be, for some of you, that's going to be a major part of the next 90 days because you've got a good organization to work with. For others of you, it'll be a small component of the next 90 days because you only have a few people to work with. Based upon the size of your back-end residual will determine how much time you have to put into the next segment, which is, number 3, get a new list. Okay? Some of you, like in my particular situation, a small percentage of what I'm going to do in the next 90 days is going to be new frontline prospecting. At this stage of the game, and frankly, I haven't had a chance to really define it. Sometime between now and Saturday of next week, I'll have that put together, my next 90-day game plan. I'm estimating probably about 20% of my ZJA time, okay, which ends up being a small amount of time, of course, but I'm thinking about 20% of my ZJA time is going to be devoted to new frontline prospecting. building the next generation of distributors, next generation of diamonds. 80% of my time is going to be devoted to working with my existing organization and doing what I'm just suggesting you guys are doing. Identify the people that are moving forward, identify what I need to do to support their efforts, and engage with them. Okay? If you're brand new, you may only have 1 or 2 people to work with, so it might be 20% that for the next 90 days working with your team, 80% getting the next generation of new distributors. Now, make a new list, and here's a couple of thoughts I had for you on making the new list, okay? Number 1, focus on people that don't live where you live. This is a missing ingredient that I see happening with a lot of people. Oh, Darren's letting us see where he's going, heading into the sunset. That's very cool. Kevin, when he has his camera on, is showing us where he is. Darren's showing us where he's going. Interesting. I like it, by the way. Now, focus on people that don't live where you live. And I'm going to give you a couple of thoughts on that, but let me preface this. When I started Zija, I know what it takes to build a company from the ground up. Okay, I understand it. And Southern California, where, you know, people don't get it. Where I live, you know, in some areas, you know, compared to where Berdina lives, I live in a major metropolitan area. Relative to Southern California, I live in a small coastal community. To build in this area, back in the days in the second company I was in, I lived in Orange County. And there was a point in time where I had like offices, I think like 4 or 5 offices I was supporting at one point in time. You know, Orange County, LA County, San Diego, Riverside, San Bernardino. But where I live was pretty much the center of about 15 million people in the 5 counties of the, you know, the greater LA Metroplex. It wouldn't have been possible for me to build the business I was building up in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. And so what I recognized with Zija back then, 2 years in business, there was nothing happening. If I was going to build this business locally, Southern California, I was never going to be at home. I'd be sleeping in my car. I was going to have to be the guy, being the guy doing the meetings, being the guy setting up the hotels, being the guy doing all, you know, the one-on-ones, everything. So when I first started, I purposefully identified people to build my business with that if they were going to expect me to see me in their living room, it would be because I got off an airplane. So I never had that issue of, you know, well, you know, Fred, can you run out and do a meeting for me? Fred, can you come out and meet with this guy? Fred, that wasn't possible. Now, one of the things that happened in the process of identifying people that lived an airplane flight away from me, I was also identifying people who were a little bit more independent, a little bit stronger, were capable of actually meeting with somebody on their own without having their upline holding their hand as we walked into the restaurant. Okay, somebody that was capable of talking to people without me being physically there. Now, one of the advantages that I had by focusing on people that lived long distance from me, within the first 6 months of Zija, I think it was 13 different states my Zija business was represented in. 13 different states. I had cast a very wide net to then start bringing people in. That was a big advantage to my business because I was able to grow much faster, you know, geographically than if I'd focused on just people that I could meet for lunch to share the story with, share the product with. You know, my first people, well, you guys know this, my first 3 distributors bought the Diamond Pack, which at that time was, I think, 320 cans of our original Moringa drink. Their first sample showed up with 319 other cans. Okay? Just like me. Actually, my 320, 360, 360 cans, whatever the Z10 was back then. It showed up on the doorstep, but I flew to Utah to drink my first few cans, right? So Focus on people that live outside of your home area. Now, how do you do that? Get your memory jogger out. Okay, this time go to the more obscure or older contacts. Sometimes these are the very best. The people that are closest to you, the ones that you know the best, almost without exception, for most, the 80% of people that get involved in our business, the people you know that live the closest to you, you see the most often, they're not the ones you're looking for. They're the ones that take your Zija product and go, it doesn't taste that good. Really? It doesn't taste that good? Well, then keep putting those nachos and pork rinds down your gut. And stay fat. Really, it doesn't taste that good. So what? You want to be fat? Eat French fries. You probably want to be a little bit more diplomatic than me, but you know what? I ain't got time for people that ain't got time to take care of themselves. Really don't. I'm on a mission. Now, when you start working with the less familiar people, they're the ones that you tend to get more mileage with. All you really need is some form of connection to get into them. Is that your cat, sweetie, Danielle? That's great. Trying to figure out what the heck was going on there.
Hail.
Also, look for the people that it's been a long time you've spoken with. See, some of you, not all of you, some of you, it's been 10 years, 20 years since you graduated high school and college. Go back to them. Let me tell you what you're going to experience when you go back to those people you haven't talked to in years. I'm going to use a real life example, and it's an example that was given to me about an hour before we started this session. My new guy, Gary. Some of you guys, I just haven't had a chance to splash him on Facebook yet, but you've heard me talk about him. Gary and his wife, Sandy, they were big dogs in my first company. And like a lot of them there, they experienced some real challenges when that company all but crashed. And they went into the second company, and that's where we actually got to work. And these guys, they know more. They've forgotten more about network marketing than most people will ever learn. But like me, they've been out of the game for a number of years, like I was, when I started with Zija. So what did they do? They did they went back to what, the new distributor does. They live in, I think it's south of North Dakota, one of the Dakotas, right? And, they got more cows there than people in that state. And so they're talking with some of the people that they've known, they've developed relationships with over the last few years that they've been living there. And some of the people are interested. Some are getting on the product. A lot of them aren't interested. A lot of them, can't see it. And they're dealing with an environment that doesn't have a real strong economy. Okay, big surprise. They're getting mediocre results. But I put them on a call. And they heard David Moses talking about what's going to be happening with the company over the next, 90 days or so. And they got so fired up, they reached out and contacted a couple that we both know. They're up in Vancouver area. And I've talked with them before, back in the early days. And it wasn't something they were interested in. And the reason was very simple. Like all of us with that last company, they made a fortune with that company. But when it came time to leave that company, they were burned out on multi-level. They decided, companies come and go, leadership has issues, yeah, you can make a lot of money if you get in at the right time, but they really didn't believe, like me, that they could find a company that could be one of those, rare, 1 in, 10,000 companies that could be, a Zija. Okay, they just didn't believe that they would. Are there companies like that? Sure, Amway, Shackley, Mary Kay, Herbalife. There's companies like that, but they didn't believe, like me, that I would be lucky enough to find one of those companies, before it hit 500 million a year, $1 billion a year, to be part of that group of people that established our footprint. And then the company went to 500 million, $1 billion and beyond. Now, short story, they called up Jim and Sandy. Jim was, and they're really great people, and they had a closer relationship with Gary than they had with me, but I tried to talk with them back in the early days. They weren't interested. Yeah, Fred, we don't do multi-level anymore, but good luck with you. And we've kept in touch on Facebook, but I haven't reached out to them. I've been too busy. Gary reached out to Jim. Started getting at first it was, just lukewarm. Well, no, we've done multi-level. We really don't. And then he started to hear the story. After that last company, they were burned out on multi-levels. They tried a few traditional things, and things didn't pan out. And then there was a period of time where Jim was doing a direct sales thing and made a ton of money, except for the fact that something happened with that company and they lost everything, and the owner of that company's in jail now.
Phew.
And they're actually a couple of years older than Gary. Gary is probably 8-10 years older than I am. So these people, they're in their mid-70s plus. They're in good health. They look good. But you know what? They ain't got anything. They are so hungry, they can't think straight. And so what did Gary do? Gary told my story. They remember me real well. They said, he's still with them? Yeah. And then he started sharing some of what he's seen. And then they did one more thing. Gary sent them my 7-minute video from Cancun.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Okay. And Jim wants to talk to me tomorrow. Now, from what Gary said, they ain't got anything. He says, I have no idea how they're surviving. And all I could tell Gary was, you know what? This is what this is all about. Why we do this? A long time ago, needing to make money stopped being the issue. What's this all about? For me, let me tell you what it's about. It's you guys. You are the ones that have the burning white hot desire to have something special in your life. Each one of you have a different reason, but it all comes down to the same thing. This can create what it is that you want in your future. You guys are the reason I'm here. Okay, I told Gary and his wife, they're doing well. Okay, would they like more money? Of course they would. Would they like to be able to help the kids more? Absolutely. Would they like to get back to the lifestyle they used to have, where they had, a boat on the islands, the San Juan Islands, and they could come and go as they please? Sure, they'd like to have that. Their lifestyle can't support that anymore, but they'd like to have that. But do they need this? Not really. They're doing okay as long as they, Sandy hates spending the winters in South Dakota or North Dakota, whichever it is. But do they need this? Nah, they're doing okay. And think about this for a minute. Doing okay is the enemy of doing good. Doing good is the enemy of doing excellent. And this is what I told them. That's what this is all about. To take people we love and care about, like Jim and Sandy, and offer them a chance. They can put together their retirement in the next 24 to 36 months. And it won't take much because they haven't got much. And so, moral of the story, Gary reached out because he saw something based on that David Moses call. It was a small call just with, diamonds. Gary got something that lit him up. And so he reached deep. He called somebody he hasn't talked to in ages, but he had a close relationship with him 20 years ago. Didn't have a phone number, so he Facebook messengered Jim and said, I need to talk to you. What's your phone number? And Jim got right back to him, gave him his phone number. Planted the seed, shared the opportunity, shared my story, showed him a video, And the only reason we're not talking today is Jim wanted to learn more about the company. So Gary's sending him a little bit more company information. Interesting that the first step was sharing my story. Second step was sharing my video. Third step is information on the company. Because does it make, hey, drink this, it'll make you 20 pounds lighter and 20 years younger and better looking. Okay? What difference does it make what's in it? Do you know what's in Kentucky Fried Chicken? No, you don't. What are those 11 secret spices and herbs? I have no idea. And I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Let me tell you what the herbs and spices come in. A bag that has no ingredients on it. You tear it open. It's our secret recipe. Okay? See, what you think people need to know isn't what they need to know. What they need to know is why. Okay? Why? Because of what's happened to me, what's happened to you, what's happened to others. And if you'd like that, I can put you on the phone with my guy. So I got a little distracted there. Focus on old or obscure contacts. Now, when you're focused on people who live outside of your area, that's going to expand your base. Some of you live in areas that I'm going to tell you right now, a little bit of a challenge to try and build a business in. If the economy's struggling, look for people where the economy's good. Economy is good in the Bay Area in San Francisco. The economy is good in LA. The economy is good in Denver. The economy is good in Phoenix. The economy is really good in South Florida. Yes, Cindy? People got money to buy houses. They're keeping you running like crazy. Barely got time to you know, because you're working on your job, barely got time to work on your opportunity. Go to those areas. Now, to help you with your memory jogger, this is a couple things that I would suggest. Number one, go to Zija events. Look at the events. The vast majority of the events you can discount, okay? The events that are taking place at people's homes are probably not what you need to plug into. But look at Zija events for where the ranking distributors are going to be doing meetings. You know, the platinums, the emeralds, the diamonds. I just noticed Josh Plant's doing something up north. Kevin, I think, is actually organizing a bus to go up there and see Josh Plant. Okay? Those are the kinds of things you want to look at. That will help stimulate. Now, well, I don't know anybody that lives in Portland. I don't know anybody that lives in Denver. So what? Go call your old prospects and say, hey, Bob, who do you know lives in Denver? Well, why? Because I'm expanding my business there and I'm looking for a couple of good contacts. I know you weren't interested in what I'm doing, but I could sure use your help. Who do you know in Denver? How about calling up, you know, Mary Lou? Mary Lou, who do you know lives in Tampa? How about this one? Bob, am I mistaken? Am I, you know, confusing with somebody else? Don't you have contacts in Florida? No, not really. Why? I go, oh man, I thought you did because I'm expanding my business into Florida. See, when you start talking like it's the real deal, your prospects, your contacts are going to start taking you more serious. See, some of you aren't talking like this is the real deal. Okay? The day I started with my second company, I had nothing other than a belief that this thing was going to make me rich. The day I started with Zija, and by the way, that company wasn't even doing $1 million a month. Okay, they've been in business 17 years, and they weren't even doing $1 million a month. Zija, the year before I joined, they didn't do $1 million in 2007. It was like 900,000 in business in 2007. But the day I joined, I was talking like this is the real deal. This is the deal. People can only judge what you got based upon the perception you give them. And I'm telling you, every single one of you is the real deal. You might be new, but people will not take your business any more serious than you take your business. So look at Zija events for a few areas. Most of I'm gonna tell you, I looked through Zija events here a little bit ago before we started. Most of the events are home events. Some of the events have a city, a time, no location, and no contact. Don't even worry about that. Okay, there's very little going on in Zija land of any significance. But look at Facebook, because most of the big events aren't on Zija events. Why? I have no, Jim Rohn, one of the great mysteries of life. Why wouldn't we promote this correctly? But look on Facebook. But here's the trick. Look in advance. The farther down the road, the better. You don't want to promote, you don't want to take your brand new prospect, call them up, ask them if they're open to hearing an opportunity, because tomorrow night in their area, this is going to happen. Wrong, 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 wrong. Last thing I'm going to do is send a non-committed distributor to somebody else's meeting unless I have a personal contact there to make sure they don't disappear on me. You want to have people ink on paper, ideally. Okay, that's the ideal scenario, and let them get more exposure there. Facebook, there's a lot of postings in different areas where people are going. I noted, I think it was in Florida somewhere, Brandon and Jessica Hayes, they're doing a couple of meetings. See, I would send somebody to that meeting, okay? But I would also call Brandon up and say, I got a new guy going to that meeting. I want you to take care of him, all right? Now, the regionals. This is something that's very important, folks. The regional, and I don't have the dates off the top of my head. It's like, I think the 11th of, Cindy's 11th of June is the Florida regional, or 12th.
Fred, it's June 15th and 16th, or 16th and, hold on, 16th and 17th. Let me find it.
That's right. It's the week after the 10th, because the 10th is Mom's
16th
birthday.
and 17th, I believe.
Okay. So look at that location anywhere within the state. Find anybody that's within an 8-hour drive of that location is somebody you need to start finding to prospect, because that will be one of the major events of the Zija calendar. I'm going to be there. Okay, anybody that you can get to that event, you can get them to sit down with me. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm a lot better looking in person than I am on Zoom. But
Well, what are you going to wear though, Fred?
oh, I'm not going to dress like this. No, actually, that's
Purple
on my
tie.
to-do list for this upcoming week. I call my guy and tell him I'm bringing in all my stuff. We're going to have to tighten things up, and it's like every time I go to an event, I got to go to see him first. He likes it because he charges me for altering the pants and that sort of thing, getting them a little tightened up, and he knows he's going to walk away with me buying another couple of $1,000 worth of stuff from him, right?
Shirts and ties.
Oh, that's the cheapest I can get away with. No. He goes, I got a couple of sport coats I want you to look at, Fred. Now, this one's really nice. And then he holds up the tag, goes, I'm not sure you want this, but it's really nice. And I'm thinking, most of the cars I've bought, motorcycles I've bought before the time I was, 30 or 35 costs, less than that jacket. And anyway, so I'm getting off track again. Sorry, guys. Look at the regionals. Anybody that's within an 8-hour drive, find people there, because that's going to be maximum window dressing and exposure. I want each one of you to think about, for those of you who've been to regionals, think about how much bigger your vision of Zija became after you joined a major event. Okay, that's when it became real. All the people you saw in the videos, you got to shake their hand. You took your pictures with them. The owners of the company, the executives of the company, the top income distributors. And if you're like me, you started to realize, you know what? Those big shots making the big money, all due credit to the efforts and the experience and the time they put in to get there, but they ain't that special. They're not a whole lot different than me. Following weekend, Las Vegas. Okay? Find somebody within an 8-hour drive of Las Vegas. Now, here's the key. Whatever the event is going to be, whenever it's going to be, you don't promote the event. You promote the next event. Okay? David and I are working on some things that we'll finalize here over the next week or so we can give you more exposure opportunities for small groups. Okay? But until then, use what we've got. Okay? You've got Diamond videos. You've got David's call on Monday. You've got Josh's call on Wednesday. And you got us. Okay? In so much as we're capable of doing so, you can bring the meeting to the people via Zoom. So focus outside of your area. Look at ZJ events. Look at the regionals. Folks, if the regional isn't on your calendar, put it on your calendar. Do whatever you got to do to be at the one closest to you. I'm not going to say any more about it. Do whatever you got to do. The final 6 months of the year is going to be framed up at those regionals. Okay? You have two choices. You can hear about it after the fact, or you can come back from the regional to share it with your team. And this is part of the story. Your story can be, I heard what happened at the regional, let me tell you. Or you could take advantage of the next 6 weeks leading up to the regionals, 6-7 weeks leading up to the regionals. I'm going to the regional. Who's going with me? I'm going, my room is booked. I'm going to the regional. My ticket is booked. I'm going to the regional. That's the first part of the story. I was talking with Kevin here. Kevin missed bronze by that much a couple of weeks ago. And I told him that he actually said, you know, he could have bought a couple of cases of Super Mix and he would have been bronze. And he didn't. And I suggested to him that and he goes through tons of product. He's a retailing maniac. I suggested he should have done it. I'm not saying buy the position, but I'm saying if you're 100 points away, here's what the story becomes. I'm going to the bronze event. And you can leverage that story to inspire your team, not motivate, inspire your team for weeks, for however many months it takes for the bronze trip to come back. And then once you've been to the bronze trip, here's a story. I just got back from the bronze success trip. See, that's what our business is. It's just telling stories. People have to have a reason to do what they need to do to be successful in our business. Now, finally, you all need to refine your DMO. You've had 90 days. It wasn't as consistent a weekly engagement as I'd hoped it would be. That was, frankly, most of the purpose of this 12-week program, was to keep you engaged on a weekly basis and then on a daily basis. Very, very few people have that rare ability to focus on their own activities, to create that themselves. And this is something I've had to refine over the years, but I am, you know, we've had that conversation. I've talked to you about, you know, people saying, well, Fred, you've got to be really competitive. No, I'm not. You know, I really don't. I'm not. I don't really care who gets what. You know, it's like totally non-issue, just like my car. I don't buy my car because it's cool. I buy my car because I like it. If I liked a Volkswagen, if I like Prius, I'd buy a Prius. Now, personally, I can't think of anything less that I'd want to drive than a car that doesn't go when you downshift. Okay? I mean, I know it'd be better for the planet, but I'm planting trees in Brazil. Okay? How many trees have you paid for in Brazil? It's my rationalization of my carbon footprint. Here's the point. I'm incredibly competitive against myself. Oh, seriously, Brian? Not even one of those skimpy tank tops? You just got to show everything off? some people's downline. You know what I'm saying? Looking good there, buddy. I'd show you my guns, but I'm working. Refine your DMO. It's not important how good you've done. What's important is, are you getting better? That's all that matters. Are you getting better? Okay. Nobody is ever going to be as good as the number one person instantly. Okay. Why is David Moses the top income earner? Because he's had decades to refine his daily method of operation. Why is Chris Estes the number one income earner in the U.S.? Folks, he's only been in Zija, like, I think he definitely started within my first year, okay? But he had years of preparation as a competitive athlete on the attributes that create success in our business, okay? He understood the concept of a daily method of operation, a prolonged period of time of consistency before achieving the results he was looking for. These were the kinds of things that he brought to the table because of his career prior to Zija. There's always this, and if you talk to Chris, he didn't hit it out of the park. I remember meeting Chris the first time. I think he was like, maybe he was a silver, okay, at the first regional. And I just started to hear the name. And I shook his hand. I said, oh, yeah, I've heard about you, Chris. And he had a couple of people and congratulated him on his success. He was there just to see if the deal was as good as what he'd been telling people. Now, it takes time to refine your skill set to be at the level that you desire. But that's the cool part. You can always get a little bit better. So next 90 days, look at the last 90 days, look at the daily method of operation, because ultimately it's activity that creates productivity. Look at it and then refine your DMO. Get better incrementally, get better at what you do, and continue your growth, continue your skill sets development, continue to develop your ability to share your story, continue to develop your system. Now we know there's a system, but everybody has their own little finer nuances to what they do with their team. That's why I'm always with established distributors, I'm always very, very sensitive to the fact that you may have a little finer nuance to the invitation, presentation, validation, peak, pass, plug, that maybe I use, okay? It doesn't have to be exactly what I do. It should follow the system, but everybody has their own, because this is a people business. And then finally, continue to develop your communication, your ability to share the story, your ability to communicate with your organization, to impart the upcoming events, to impart the information that they need. Something that I've had to let it go completely for the last 4 weeks. I've had a couple people say, well, Fred, I signed up for your newsletter, your team email, but I haven't gotten any because I haven't sent any. That's why I haven't gotten any. And that's one of the things that's on my list, to get back to regular communication. So sadly, it looks like what I did is I managed to evaporate our entire hour with the stuff I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to stay here for a little bit. We'll open up the session. Tell me the kinds of things that I might be able to assist you with, the questions that you have, the challenges you've been experiencing. I can't tell you I've got all the answers, but I can tell you I probably have some good thoughts, simply because anything that you've experienced in the last 90 days that has been a challenge, that hasn't gone the way you wanted, chances are I've already experienced that many, 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 many times. So for as long as you guys want, it's your session now.
Everybody is so quiet.
Well, mine is what we talked about last week anyway, is when, we talked about, getting our team motivated. Still trying to do that. I guess life happens to everybody and they're just not, they're not ready. So I'm off looking for new people.
Here's the concept. It's walk and chew gum at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I will tell you, Cindy, you're part of that group that you really need to have 80% of your time engaged in developing new people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 20% in working with the organization. Probably the time you start to make that transition is when you've got so many new people that are doing the deal that you are losing momentum because you're not focusing on the development of your team. And you still don't make that transition to the, from 80% new prospecting, 20% supporting the team. You still don't do a complete swap. Honestly, I wouldn't even consider having a 80% working with the organization, 20% new business until you hit the level of income that was your goal.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because you all remember back-end residual is a third or a sixth of the volume that new business is. That's, a 1,000 PV order this week is 150 PV order 4 weeks from now. A 500 PV order this week is 150 PV order 4 weeks from now. And we know there's going to be attrition. Okay, that's just the way it is, right? And so backing off the throttle of new business, you're going to have to be really underway before you can do that. It's like the concept, the guy that the pilot of the airplane, when he starts at the runway, he goes full throttle. And he maintains full thrust, not until he gets up off the runway, but until he's well underway, 30,000 feet before they back off. Because if he backs off the throttle halfway down the runway, he never gets off the ground. If he backs off the throttle as soon as he gets off the ground, he drops back down again. If he backs off the throttle at 5,000 feet, he's going to drop back down again.
Right.
He doesn't back off the throttle until he's at 30,000 feet, and you can feel it. So when the plane levels off, it feels like it starts to slow down. It's not slowing down. It's you don't feel the thrust, and that's because once you get up there at 30,000 feet, or let's say 30,000 PV in your lesser leg, diamond, once you get there, the air is thinner. The resistance is less. It's easier to maintain 30,000 in volume in your lesser leg than it is to try and get 5,000 in volume on the way up. Okay? So,
Got it.
establish momentum, advance momentum, sustain momentum. 3 stages of momentum. Now, remember that it's not about motivating the team, it's about inspiring the team. Inspiration comes from testimonials, yours and others. Be willing to reach out to the people that have the stories and ask for their support. Connect the ones that need inspiration to your upline. Set up a Zoom call. Don't be the one that has all the answers. Be the one that knows the people with all the answers. Okay? Share your story. Share the stories of others. Okay? Guess whose story I've been sharing recently? Brandon and Jessica Hayes. They just hit Black Diamond.
Right.
Is that incredible?
Yeah.
And I remember it was deck 13, the hip young, discotheque part of the cruise ship, one of the first Zija cruises. I think it was the second Zija cruise. And I got up there. I was sitting back with a buddy of mine, Charlie Miller, having a drink. They hadn't really started popping yet. And Brandon Hayes walked in, and he went, "Oh my God, you're Fred Holmes." And I'm thinking to myself, really? I knew this. I already know who I am. I haven't been here. I just got here. It's not 4 a.m. yet. I still know who I am. And he had to buy me a drink. And I remember this. He goes, "Can I buy you a drink?" And I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should buy you the drink, right? And the reason he was on the Zija cruise is because Kevin Brazel's wife was pregnant, and he brought Brandon. Brandon was one of his new guys. He didn't qualify the cruise. He brought that was Kevin Brazel's date, right? And what I remember is he had to buy me bourbon because he's from Kentucky or something like that. I said, "I don't drink bourbon. I drink scotch." You can buy me, "Oh no, I got to use your bourbon." And I had to really, fight with him to say, "Listen, if you're gonna buy me a drink, it's gonna be scotch. Otherwise, sit here and have a drink. I'll buy my own." But anyway, I'm telling his story. Why? Young couple. It's only been a few years, and the time it takes the average person to start college and get an MBA, they've already gone beyond what most people will ever dream about. And he's 30 years old. I'm telling his story, right? And why is he any different than anybody else? He isn't, other than highly developed willingness to work, willingness to learn, burning desire to succeed. That help? Anthea.
Yes, sir.
Your mic is off. You ready to say something?
I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't with you guys last week. I think I was with you 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke up saying that I had challenges. Well, I guess my goal for this 12-week program was for me to rank advanced to bronze.
Mm-hmm.
Which I have not hit yet. I have, I think, 5 days. Back to what Cindy was saying, that, she had spent a lot of her time trying to develop her people. I mean, I need to do that in order to hit bronze, right? I mean, I got to make a Builder 500, right?
Let me change the mindset.
Okay.
You have to, yes, you have to develop a Builder 500, okay? But you don't create the Builder 500. You find the one that wants to be a Builder 500.
Right.
Okay? Remember one of the multi-level proverbs. How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? Only takes one. But the light bulb has to really want to change.
Okay.
Right? So, yes, how do you develop a Builder 500? You take the person that came in, and I don't care if they started with a diamond pack, a gold pack, an enhanced system, or, a case of Super Mix. It really is immaterial to me. If they want it bad enough, are they the ones that got through the training stuff in an hour?
Mm-hmm.
Are they the ones that said, "I've got my list"? Are they the ones that are asking you, "Will you talk with me with this person?" Are they putting you in front of people? Okay? Willing to work, willing to learn, burning desire to succeed. You develop the Builder 500, but it's got to be somebody who wants to be a Builder 500. Okay? Now, in the beginning, when the numbers are small, we tend to focus on what we've got. Let me tell you what every top producer will tell you. The people that you're looking for will show up. You can't make them. Okay? You can help them, but you can't make them. You can't send ducks to eagle school. You can't decide who's an eagle. They come disguised as truck drivers, as stay-at-home moms, as, you know, whatever. Okay, you can't tell by looking at them. You can tell by watching them. And then once you get that person wants to do it, then yes, that's your responsibility. Go talk to enough people with them to get somebody to come in. And then go get somebody else to come in. Okay? But if you're trying to make people do the business, then you're probably mistaking activity for productivity. Okay, well, who do I look for, Fred? Real simple. Somebody who wants to change their life as much as you do. Okay? Also keep in mind that the person, in most cases, the person you're looking for is not the person you're working with. It's somebody they know, or somebody they know, or somebody they know. That's why my philosophy has always been, I got 30 days with a new guy. Okay? My mindset. Now, that's not to say that I haven't had people a year down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road. I'm thinking about you and you. You know who I'm talking about. All people saw was me pointing. You gave it away by smiling. But you never know when the person that's been around ends up deciding to show up. Okay? But my attitude has always been, I got 30 days. I got 30 days to get my new guy a paycheck, to get a couple of people in so I can get into their warm market, because I know full well that most of the time the person I'm looking for isn't the person I sponsored. It's somebody they know, and it's somebody they know. It's 5 or 6 or 7 levels. Just saw a new hot hand come up. I traced her her ID. She's on my 72nd level. 72 levels below me. Drove 3 people last week with enhanced systems. That's somebody I want to work with. Part of the reason I want to work with them is they're like multiple generations below anybody that has any substance. And what's interesting is the next person up that can actually help them doesn't even know they exist. But I do, which is how I built my business. That help, Anthea?
Yes, yes, it does.
And for you, that was a good goal, bronze. Okay?
It
That
is
was
a good goal.
That was
It is a good goal.
I'm sorry?
It is a good goal.
Okay.
It's not passed yet.
It was a great goal for the last 90 days, and it's a great goal for the next 90 days. Okay? Identify what, celebrate or fix. If you hit bronze in this 90 days, celebrate. You're awesome. If you didn't, fix it. Identify what needs to take place that didn't take place. Fix it. And now you've got a whole new 90 days to go after it. Right?
Yep.
Kevin, your mic's off. You got something for me?
No, I don't. I just figured maybe I did. But no, I'm about to pick up a rental car to go take the team tomorrow morning up to Bend.
Okay. Want to share, if you don't mind, Kevin, I'm going to share a conversation I had with Kevin yesterday. I think it was on the way to the gym. I didn't get to the gym yesterday till I think it was 6:30 at night. Was when I got to get to the gym yesterday. But I was talking with Kevin, and I was telling him that he was doing, I was so impressed with him, because he's doing the #1 thing that a distributor can do, a new distributor can do, to provide for the potential success of his distributors. Okay? It's not the training, it's not the knowledge, okay, which kind of brings into question, why am I doing this with you guys? Okay? It's not, you know, his success. Okay. The most important thing that one can do to assist their new downline, especially when you're new, before you have the tenure in the industry, to always have the answer to the question, before you've got the success story to inspire and document, before you have any of those things, Kevin is doing the most important thing a distributor can do. He's getting his people exposure to the successful people. Kevin jumped in his car the other day, yesterday, whenever it was, and with one of his distributors, he had a few lined up, but they bailed. But he had one person, Janelle, right? Was it Janelle?
Jillian.
Jillian. Thank you.
Jillian.
Yeah, no more distributors whose names begin with a J. End of that. Jillian was the one that showed up, and they jumped in the car and they drove what, 6 hours?
4.5.
4.5 hours from God's country up in Northern California near the Oregon border all the way down to Sodom and Gomorrah in San Francisco. Worse than that, they had to go south of there to San Jose so that Jillian could meet
Worse
Chris
than that, Modesto.
I'm sorry?
Worse than that, Modesto.
Hey, listen, I know Modesto. By the way, you guys remember, what was the name of the movie? American Graffiti. You remember American Graffiti? Oh, come on. Some of you old enough to remember that. That was filmed in Modesto. So anyway, sorry. He drove 4.5 hours in some of the worst traffic to be able to give her exposure to Chris Estes. And they came, well, I mean, Kevin's already fired up. He's all in, fired up, and committed. Jillian is too. What's he doing now? He's on the way to, he's finally got to his destination. He's picking up a rental vehicle. It's a van, so he can throw a bunch of his people. So they're going to drive, what is it, tomorrow or the next day, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours into Oregon, so he can get his people to meet Josh Plant, Landon Weaver, and Emeka Volger. Okay? When you don't have the tenure, the knowledge, the success story, you know, the documentation, the most important thing, and it's not those two things, if you can give exposure to your new person, to the success and the potential opportunity, that is the most important thing you can do. Now, he's already doing this. He's put us on Zoom meetings with his team. Okay? You're not always going to have an event, even if you wanted to drive 6, 8, 10 hours. You're not going to have an event nearby to do that with. So you put them on Zoom meetings with your upline. Let us share the story. Let them meet us. Okay? But that is the most important thing, and I'll kind of wrap it with this thought. I shared this with Kevin yesterday. When I first started, you guys hear the story. You know, I was sponsored by a you know, $1 million income earner. I talk about the story about how it was my good fortune. I was able to learn from $1 million income earners. Blah 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 blah. That's not the real story. Okay, my sponsor signed me up and left. Okay, if I had relied on my sponsors' tutelage, mentoring, training, support, I'd never be here. But he did one thing. Just a few weeks into the business, he told me I needed to go to the company's, you know, big convention in Chicago. And he made it an issue, as if it was like the only thing that, you know, if there was anything I was going to do, if I was serious, I was going to be there. If not, then just get out of the way. Okay? And I genuinely do not believe that I would have gone through what I've gone through to be successful in this industry had I not gone to that first convention. And bear in mind, that wasn't the company that made me the money. But the convention is what gave me exposure to successful people and a belief system that I had the potential of being involved in this business. Had I not gone to that convention, I probably would not have made the sacrifices, gone through the challenges and the hardship I went through the first 2 years in that first company. Had I not experienced that, I would not have been prepared to join the second company and do what I was able to do there. And frankly, had I not had that experience and had that company come to an end, I probably would not have had the ability to look at Zija and see what the potential was here and to do what I did with Zija in those first 3 years when nothing was happening with the company. Okay? So if there's one thing you can do, and I'm talking here in particular, you brand new people, give your distributors an opportunity to see what you've seen, because it's all about belief. What causes a child to walk when, frankly, it is anatomically incorrect for people to walk on 2 feet? Okay, just like bees aren't supposed to be able to fly. Belief. Everybody in the world was telling my older boy he was never going to be successful and he was a terrible kid. Why was he such a good kid with me, and why did he succeed? It was belief. And until he could believe it, I believed it enough for him. And I believe in each one of you guys, or else I would not have committed this time, especially in this last 4 weeks, if I didn't believe in you. So we're at the hour and 25-minute mark, folks. Let's go ahead and put a wrap on it. I'll get this posted. Scott, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Yeah, just real quick, when you were talking about refining your daily method of operation, and you were talking about productivity being greater than activity, can you shed some light maybe just on some tweaks that you can make? Because I feel like, maybe not being able to identify for myself personally, because I feel like I've tried to be consistent and have felt very active. Maybe my productivity doesn't match what I would have hoped my, get me closer to my goals, maybe like Anthea was saying.
Okay.
So maybe if I don't know if this would apply to everyone else, and maybe in some broad ways you can kind of direct some action.
Every question, Scott, applies to everybody, either directly, and there's several new people that will benefit from this. I'm looking at Marvin, I'm looking at Danielle, or existing people, because they've been around for a while, but they still need the same amount of advice, or established people because they need to know how to respond to these questions. Okay? So just to let you know, there is no stupid questions, right? There is no particular questions. So let's clarify a couple of things. First of all, activity precedes productivity.
Right.
So in general, any activity is better than no activity. If there's no activity, that's what predates the no productivity. Okay?
Right.
Now, it's better to do something than nothing. Now, obviously, at a point in time, we want to improve our effectiveness in our productivity. So, what are productive activities? Productive activities are exposure, follow-up, third-party validation. Okay, those are effective activities. Designing business cards, putting together flyers, planning to do things. Certain amount of planning, yes. Spending all day planning, no. Okay. Now, the refinement of the daily method of operation. In the last 90 days, there's a few things that you have probably been able to identify, or you will, okay, if you take a few minutes to think about it. If scheduling of your actions. How effective were you? If your daily method of operation had 6 to-do items and you said, I'm going to do 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the evening, maybe, and you're finding you're not getting to them, it's probably because you did not quantify when in the morning, okay? Or you didn't have it prearranged. I'm going to call Bob at 8 in the morning, and I wrote down his phone number on the calendar where his name was, okay? Little tiny tweaks like that. So you're not getting stuck out on the road going, dang, I was going to call Bob, but I don't have his number.
Right.
Okay. In the last 90 days, you've started to identify unique things in your, daily method of operation. Your business may have situations where you planned for from 2 to 4 in the afternoon to be doing something with your own personal business, your real business.
Mm-hmm.
And it typically goes to 5 or 6 or doesn't start at 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If that's part of your unique situation, then you want to build into your daily method of operation for your Zija business flexibility to be able to pull up. Maybe it's identify 7 or 8 or 9 things, so that when you get stuck in a situation that you're supposed to meet the people at 2 and they said, we can't be there till 3 to talk about the photography contract we want to do, that you're not sitting there from 2 to 3 waiting on them.
Right.
You've got 3 more things that were extras on your list, okay? And I'm trying to use your vernacular, your situation, but the concept is what I'm talking about. And see, if your focus is real simple, exposure, invitation to people, sharing some information, the follow-up, and the validation. Those are the only things that make any difference until you've got people that want this as bad as you do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since I know what you're interested in, what you want long term, it's going to be a while before you find those people. So be willing to work with the ones that maybe don't have as high level desire as you, but they got enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever it takes, this is my concept, whatever it takes. If you've got somebody local that says, I'm scared to talk to somebody. Okay, great. Let's talk to them together. Okay, I don't know what to say. Well, how about we do a coaching session? I don't know who to talk to. Let's look at your memory jog. Okay.
Right.
Be the person that you wish you had as a sponsor. That's really to me, that's probably the most significant thing I can say. Be the person that you would have liked to have had as your sponsor. And in most cases, certainly in my case, be thankful you didn't have the one you wanted, because it made you stronger. Okay? You had to go out of your way to make it happen. But that refinement of your daily method of operation, figure out what has worked, figure out what didn't work, and what you have to do to make sure that the next 90 days, those challenges you've had, that you get them worked out. And it's usually not that much. Okay? Now, who you've got to work with, now's your time to evaluate. Reach out to the people. Okay? We already know there's one guy I thought was really sharp, hasn't returned either one of our phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with dropping one more call. Oh my goodness, can't believe what's happening. Next 90 days are going to be drop dead serious. And then give them an out. I'd really love to work with you. I understand that, there's been some challenges that you have. If there's anything I can do, let me know. Love to work with you. And then move on. Don't get a response? That person you don't check off your list, that person you mark down to talk to on your next 90-day game plan, so you can come back and go, oh my goodness, too bad we couldn't connect 90 days ago. I hit bronze. I'm on my way to the bronze event.
Mm-hmm.
I wish you could be part of the team. Let me tell you what happened with my new gal, and leave her a 14-minute voicemail. If that's what it takes, right?
Right.
Figure out who wants to go with you. And I got to tell you, I was in this business, I think 6 months in Zija, 6 months before I found the first person that really wanted the deal. And she didn't really want the deal for until the end of the year. It was Pat Anderson. Took 6 months to find Pat Anderson, and Pat really didn't engage. I mean, she was engaged, but not like I was. She was giving me people to talk to for her, right? She signed up, I think, like 100 people in her first 90 days, and was on the condition I was going to get them in, get them trained, get them going, work with them, build in depth. And then when she saw her first year's 1099, she went, wow, I didn't realize I made that much money. And that's when she decided she was going to put time into Zija. Okay? So it takes time. Okay? Believe in the process, knowing full well it's sooner or later you're going to find the person that you're looking for. When you do, sometimes it happens soon. Sometimes it takes longer. I have no idea why that is. I just know that it is, and I know that too many people have given up on their dreams when they were just a little bit farther before they found that one person. It only takes one person to make you a lot of money. Imagine how much money Pat Anderson has made. Okay? I mean, I can't imagine. She's probably close to 50% of my business today. Now, what if I never found Pat? I would have had to sponsor 5 more people. Okay?
Right.
Pat created what would have been the equivalent of 5 average distributors. The only difference. That help a little bit, Scott?
That's great. Appreciate it.
All right. A couple people had to chat me here. Good night, Anthea. Sorry, Fred. Say good night. Thank you all. Anthea, say good night to everybody. I guess everybody else saw that but me. Anything else, folks?
Thank you.
My pleasure. And folks, this isn't the end of our time together. This is simply the end of this organized time. I expect each and every one of you to be contacting me. Let me do what I know. Let me know what I can do to be supporting your efforts. All right. Have a great meeting, Kevin. And
thank you.
And looking forward to speaking with all of you here this upcoming week. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you, Fred.
All right. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate all the time.
Have a great evening.
Thank you, Fred.
We'll see
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.